Yo, what is going on, Team Tweedie? I hope you're all super well. Welcome to episode 22 of Ask Tweedie, the show where you guys send in your football-related questions. I do my best to answer them. What do you guys think of my new hoodie? I bought it today. You're going to see it in a couple videos, but first time I bought something for myself in a while. So, cracking on with the questions. I'm taking these ones from YouTube. I think that's the best way to do it. We may get into Twitter sometime soon. I'm not sure yet. I have to think about it. Because I'm not too active on Twitter, but I do want to grow it. So, first question comes in from Santi Grandas, and it says, #Ask Tweedie, best advice you would give to younger Sheldon Tweedie. I love this question because it gives me time to look back on my youth career, and so many of you guys, well, not so many, but some of you guys are a bit younger and need that advice, or you're coaching younger kids and want to give them advice. I would say, just don't play so many video games. When I was younger, a lot of times I would just play video games. I'd go to training. All I wanted to do was just sit down and escape from the world, and I think there's a time for that. I think everyone needs to find their escapism. Some people, their escapism might just be football, and that's all they want to do. So, you know, some of those top players like Messi, maybe not Messi, but probably, who knows? No one really knows, but their escapism might be going down to the park and training. But I think a lot of us have different ways of escapism. It just depends on how your brain is built. So for me, my escapism might be watching some YouTube, playing some video games, but on top of that, I also find escapism in training and playing matches, all those different things. So for me, when I was younger, I think I played too much, and that's just, I have to deal with that now, and I would have loved to train more. Even though I trained a lot, I think there was still times where I could have been watching football matches instead of playing games. I could have been doing this or that rather than playing games, and you know, it's a downside, but it's something that I've learned from. I don't do it as much anymore. It's difficult though, because I think a lot of you guys think trying to become a professional footballer, you don't have any time at all. It's actually very difficult, and I've spoken with Matt about this before. When he was on this same journey in Germany, we have a lot of spare time, so it's difficult to completely focus on football. You need to find something else to do, whether that's a TV series or stuff like that, because you know, you can't just do football. There's only so many hours in the day, and there's only so much your body can take. So for younger Sheldon Tweedie, man, don't play as many video games. Watch more football. That would be my thing. I think I only started really analysing my performances when I was 16, 17, and that's what really made me push up another level. I think game analysis, and if I did that from a young age, my mind, I can't even comprehend how can I say this, how much better I would have been. Because if I was analysing games when I was 10, 11, 12, 13, and just picking up on small little things that they might do, whether it's how they position themselves or where they take their first touch and why they take their first touch there, then man, I would already know that stuff when it comes to 16, and then I can go into the more complex things. So that's what I would say. Also, this will be in tomorrow morning's video, like 12 hours. I'm doing the content analysis, will be going live in the next 2 weeks. And there's going to be a 25% discount if you pre-order it before the release. So make sure you head over to my website and pre-order it. Once it goes live, that 25% discount is gone. So yeah, click the link in the description for that. Thank you, Santi Grandas. Thank you for that question. Gives me a bit of time to reminisce. So don't play too many video games. Focus on the football. This one comes in from Mazak Ghazi. They say, #Ask Tweedie, after a game where you perform well, do you prefer to think back at the bits which you were really good, or sit down and say that you had to improve regardless of how well you played? So if I played really well, I think it comes down to the result at that point, because if I come away from a game, I'm like, let's just say I scored and I assisted and we lost as a team, then I would be very upset. I'd be very frustrated, because I'd always be thinking, man, could I have done anything else to help us get that victory, help us get that win? Because at the end of the day, the most important thing is the team winning. Football is a team sport, and I think a lot of us get caught in the idea that we have to do it for ourselves, and you know, this is a one-man journey, and you know, at the end of the day, Manchester United buy Alexis Sanchez to help the team, not promote a player. It's all about getting wins, and if you have a good performance, for me, I always think if we win, and I'm like, okay, great, like I scored, I assisted, I don't really, there's a few things I try and think about in my head. I'm like, oh, what could I have done better? There are a few things like the passes, and I don't really go into too much detail in that sense straight afterwards. So straight after the game, I sit in the change room, I don't start thinking, oh, what mistakes did I make? Like I said, at that point, it's whether we lost or won. But then maybe I'm just speaking about my time with Manly United, when my games were always recorded every single week for 20 weeks or whatever it is. I would go home 3 days later and then analyse the match. I would chop it up into the concepts like I do with the analysis videos of the professional players, but I would do it for myself because that's the best way to learn. And that's also why I provide that match analysis for you guys, so you can learn about how to really analyse your matches and then implement it to your games. So I would go home, I'd analyse the match, and that's where I would really pick apart my mistakes, regardless of whether I played well or not. You can always learn from what you did well and what you didn't do well. And I think I spoke to someone on Snapchat as well. I did a couple of Snapchat FaceTimes, and someone said something along the lines of improving in matches, and I said, you have to video your matches. It's the only way to really get that next step of improvement, because you need to see the mistakes you make on video. It's so difficult to sit down and go, okay, what were the 14 mistakes I made today? Yeah, I made that one. What could I have done different? You have no idea, because you don't know where the space was. And it's not even that. It's, were you positioning yourself in the right way? Was your team defending and then you had to quickly transition to attack, so you weren't transitioning fast enough? And you need video for that. So that's my suggestion for that. And, you know, if after a game when you perform well, at the end of the day, it's whether your team wins or not. But on a personal note, yeah, I don't really think about my mistakes straight afterwards. I do a little bit if we lose. I think, man, what could I have done? And then I analyse it later in the week. Final question comes in from Keith Kerrigan. Hashtag ask Tweedie. Hey, I'm playing under 16s and my coach hasn't started me in many games. We're halfway through the season and I feel I am better than the attackers that start ahead of me. How do I get to the starting 11? Keep up the great work. Thank you, man. So, how do I get into the starting 11? I've had this problem before, and I think the best thing to do, I speak about it a lot with trials. So when you go to a trial and you don't get picked, I always say the most important thing from those trials is to, give me 1 second, I'm going to move this down a little bit. Oh, there we go. The most important thing is to go to the coach and say, why wasn't, not why wasn't I picked, what can I improve on in order to be picked, or what can I improve on to become a better player to give myself the best chance of being selected next year? And I think that's something no one really does. I did it a lot because I wanted to improve. So instead of saying to the coach in this situation, hey, why aren't I starting? Or hey, when's my opportunity going to come to start? You have to put yourself in the coach's position. So if a player came to me and said, coach, why aren't I starting? You kind of get taken back by it a little bit. You want a player that's willing to improve, willing to put in the hard work, wants to get in that starting 11 and really wants to help the team, but also they need to be a good player. So if you go to the coach and say, look, coach, I want you to give me some honest feedback on why I'm not in this. No, sorry. Give me a second. Something like, hey coach, I haven't been in the starting 11 for the first half of the season, and I thought I'd come to you to get your honest feedback on what I can improve in order to get a spot. That's probably the best way to say it. And he's going to say to you, hey, Keith, your first touch isn't good enough, or whatever it may be, and you need to get that honest feedback. He can't be saying, oh, look, other players are better. Really try and get them to say something that you're not good at, and then literally practice that. Practice it. If your first touch isn't good enough, practice it so that then he's in his mind, he's thinking, okay, I've just told him that his first touch isn't good enough. Let's see how he goes over the next week, 2 weeks. If you improve your first touch, he's going to start saying, good first touch, good first touch. Then you start to get into his head and you become a starting player. And that's how I would suggest it. A lot of players go sit on the bench like this, annoyed and just angry, there's no point. You're part of a team. If you're not in the starting 11, you need to make an impact off the bench. And if you want to be in the starting 11, which everyone does, I want to be in the starting 11. If I'm not, then I would speak to the coach and say, hey, look, what can I do to get into the team? What can I improve on? And then as well, maybe if he says, let's go long passes. Your passes across the field are just not the best. So then after training, you stay and do long passes so that he can see that you're working on that. Those are just some little tips that I would say. I think, look, at the end of the day, coaches have, let's say you have a squad of 16, they have to pick 11, and not every time you're going to be in that 11. Maybe you're just not good enough. And I'm not saying whether you are or aren't, you really need to think, am I better than some of these players that are picked in the squad? Yeah, that's basically my view on it. Let me know in the comments if you agree with those questions, and also if you put a question in from last week, just copy and paste it into this one. I'll just do it on the most recent video, or submit your new questions. Team Tweedie, what can I update you on? The vlogs aren't too far behind now, so it's not really that special hashtag Ask Tweedie feel. My calf is feeling better. That's about it really. Went to training today, just watched for a little bit, and yeah, not much to say. But anyway, Team Tweedie, I'm signing out. Make sure you leave a like on this video, subscribe if you're new around here, join the hashtag Ask Tweedie family, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye. Listen.